What is up, harvesters? Welcome back to the returning viewers, and if you're brand new here, welcome to Hobby Harvest. My name is Ken. So today we're going to talk about how to create a deer funnel anywhere on your property. We're going to talk about 3 different biomes and how to create that funnel. This is actually one of my favorite things to do on a property. It's one of the easiest things to do. It's one of the things I've been doing for the longest amount of time because you don't have to put in food plots, you don't have to put in bedding areas. Yeah, those things help a lot. So consider doing those also if you haven't already. But if you're just tuning into this type of content and you want to know what you can do that's going to have the biggest effect on your property this season, this is what I highly recommend doing. What we're going to essentially do is take what we're given naturally and we're going to just make a few changes to it so this doesn't always take a ton of time either. We're going to sweeten that up and we're going to get those deer right at a pinpoint funnel right in front of your stand for this hunting season. So let's get into it. First of all, we need to understand that the deer need a reason to be moving through this area of your woods. You can create a funnel anywhere, yes, but if there's no reason for the deer to be in that area at all, they're not going to be traveling through there as often. Yeah, you're going to get that random wanderer, and if you create this funnel correctly, they're of course going to go through the funnel, but we want to put these where we're going to maximize the amount of deer that we see. So how do we do that? Well, we know that deer mostly move between bedding areas and food sources. So if you do know that you have a food source over here, be it a food plot, be it a farm field, whatever, but you know the deer are feeding over here, but you know they're bedding over here, you want to put that funnel right in the middle here. So it's going to take all the deer that are traveling from either side here and it's going to mash them down and put them right in front of your stand at this funnel. How do we even identify where that is? Well, what you want to do is you get out and just look for deer trails. Where are the predominant deer trails running through your property? If you can find an area where there's like a area where a bunch of trails crisscross, and they might not crisscross all right on top of each other, but within maybe 100 yards, there's a lot of deer trails coming through there. That's already a natural funnel for some reason on your property. It might be topography, it might just be that that's the easiest line of movement from here and here and here. That's a good spot to pick to sweeten up even more with a man-made deer funnel to make sure that they walk straight in front of your stand at however many yards away you want them to be when you take that shot so that they're broadside. So all of that good stuff rather than, okay, there's this giant 100-yard area and maybe this one slips behind me. No, we're gonna make them come right in front of you. So let's get into how we're going to do that in our first biome. So the first biome we're going to talk about is going to be if you're out in like field grass or swamp grass. Like you don't have a lot of big shrubs, don't have a lot of big trees, you just have that natural grass growing out there. Well, this is actually the easiest one to create a deer funnel in because deer, I don't want to call them lazy, let's call them efficient. They don't want to burn up all of those calories that they work so hard for. So if you give them a nice, easy path to walk on, that is exactly where they're going to walk. So in these areas where you have tall grass, maybe it's 4 feet tall, maybe it's 6 feet tall, maybe it's taller than that, you can literally get out there just with a weed whacker and just knock down some grass. Get out there with a lawnmower if the lawnmower can handle for how tall it is. But get down there and just knock down some of this. You can even get out there with like a machete if you want to, just chop some of this down a bit. Make a trail through this grass and those deer are gonna walk exactly on that trail. It's crazy how easy it is. Now, when you are creating these trails, don't make a big, straight, long shooting lane. Shooting lanes are never a good thing to create because deer don't like to be in an area where they step and they can see forever in either direction. We as humans like to do that, but we're not prey animals. Our eyes are in the front of our head, so of course we like to see really far away. Deer have their eyes on the side of their head. They don't like to be able to see where something can see them from really far away. So don't put in those big 100-yard shooting lanes on your property. When you create these trails, you want them to bend and wind and weave so that when you're standing on a part of a trail, you can't see too far down that way before it bends and you can't see too far down that way before it bends. The deer like to sit on a trail like that. It makes them feel more comfortable, and you as the hunter don't need to see them 100 yards away. We're going to put them 20 yards right in front of you. Some of my best stands, I can't see more than 50 yards in any direction away from the stand because it's just so thick around there. But guess what? That's where I shoot all the deer because they come right within 20 yards of me because the stand is set up to put them there. So while you're creating these in those grassy areas, you do need to think of how you are going to ingress and egress to hunt these funnels because these are going to be areas that you're hunting. A lot of habitat improvements we put in and we don't directly hunt them, we hunt adjacent to them. These are those adjacent areas that you are hunting. So if you are expecting the deer to be on this trail that bends and winds and weaves, how are you getting into this stand? Because you don't want to be on that trail that you're expecting the deer to be in on. So you might want to put in what is a shooting lane or a straight like 100-yard trail that comes to your stand location. There's a 20-yard buffer to where you're expecting to take your shot, and then this deer trail bends and winds and weaves in front of here, because this will also, this straight line that comes into this stand location will help to prevent them from wanting to move over here on your ingress or egress, because they aren't going to want to cross that big straight trail that's wide open and comes into your stand location. You might even want to make that wider, like make it almost as wide as so a truck can drive on it, where this trail that the deer walk on is maybe barely wide enough to put something like a four-wheeler on it. So just think of that how am I going to sneak into this stand location to hunt this while I'm expecting to have deer moving through here. So just always have that in mind. This ingress egress thing is going to apply to all of the biomes we're talking about. I'm going to give you a tip that's specific to all of them inside each of the ones we talk about. So just keep that in mind. So the next biome is if you are in a thick woods, thick brush. This is a younger chunk of woods, or maybe you're just like adjacent to a swamp or a creek or something where the thickness of the brush close to the ground is already very thick. Well, this is my second favorite place to put these because it's super easy. You can literally get in there with like a machete or just a loppers. All you got to do is open those trees enough to get through them, make that bend, wind, weave through there just like we were doing in the grass field. Again, you don't want to be able to see forever down these, but when you're clipping off those branches, you want to use those branches and put them where you don't want the deer to go. So there might be a natural deer trail that's running this way, but you don't want it to go that way. You want it to come over here. Well, take all that brush that you're taking out of here to open this up and jam that deer trail full so they can't squeeze through there anymore. You will force them to come on the trail that you want them to come on, that comes right in front of your stand. Now, you can't 100% block them off. If they are trying to head this way, you got to at least let them eventually go that way. You can't just form a wall that says, no, you can't go this way, because they're just going to avoid that altogether and they're going to scoot over that way before they even get to you. So you can't completely wall them off, but you can manipulate them a little bit to force them this way, maybe another 10-20 yards before they head the way that they wanted to go, which puts them right in front of you. So that initial thing where I said if you have like a 100-yard area with a bunch of trails coming through, you can block off some of those trails that are 50 yards away to make them come within 20 yards of you, and then they can scoot off the way they were trying to go. Now, the tip that applies at all of these locations that I'm going to throw in on this one is you guys want to put in a mock scrape and you want to put in trail cameras on this pinch point. So by hanging a mock scrape exactly at that spot, say 20 yards right in front of your stand location, they're not only going to come in on that main trail through this pinch point, but they're going to stop to sniff that mock scrape for at least a second, long enough for you to take your shot as long as you're ready as they're coming in. And then of course get your trail cams on. So since these are a pinch point, all of the deer are going to move through this one spot. Put a cam on there because you're maximizing the amount of deer you're going to see for this whole, however much of your woods are going to come through this one spot instead of one slips behind the camera or whatever. And while we're on cameras, guys, I do have a discount code for you down in the description. Go check that out. It works on cameras. All the new models are coming out this year. It also works on all the accessories. So even if you're just like, hey, I just need some screw and tree mounts, I need some solar panels, discount code works on all of that stuff as well, guys. Head down there, save yourself some money. So the third biome I want to talk about is if you have big mature woods. Now this is what's going to take the most work to create these, because what you need to do is get those high canopy trees down. So right now your woods is basically so open because all those mature trees are choking out all of the underbrush and the deer can move wherever they want. Now the other thing is this type of biome is not going to be favorable to the deer herd. So they don't want to be in this big open area unless they have no other choice. So you're going to want to do other things to thicken up this property on top of just this pinch point. But if you're trying to create a pinch point, what you want to do is get those high canopy trees out of there. You can hinge cut the ones that are hingeable, the smaller ones that'll just bend over and you don't cut all the way through them so that they stay alive and they stay growing. But basically what you do want to do is cut as much of that high canopy out and then turn those high canopy trees into basically a pile of pickup sticks that the deer don't want to move through. So you basically cut a bunch of trees down here, cut a bunch of trees down here that lets the sunlight in to thicken up this area. But it also makes it so they can't move through here, they can't move through here, and you create an area in the middle. So even if you do this in, say, like a big 100-yard area, and you just drop everything, and then everything's laying all over the place, then go in with the chainsaw and cut that bending, winding, weaving trail through the middle of it, and that's going to be where they'll move through. Now, you don't want to make this like a cattle chute. If this is a 100-yard trail and they can't get off to the sides anywhere, they're not going to come in there. They feel too trapped, as if something came in from this side and pinned them in on this side. They aren't going to want to do that. So you do have to open these up a bit. Don't make them so thick and so gnarled with all of that dropped timber that they feel trapped in there. They won't go in there. But what you can do is just make sure that you're creating kind of like wing dams. So if any of you guys who have fished the Mississippi know that under the edges of the water, they have these wing dams that come in and kind of force the current to the center of the river, but they don't fully dam off the river. That's what you're trying to do with these drop trees in this situation. So drop some trees, make some piles of brush, you know, pick some, clean some up, make piles, make them thick, make them gnarly so the deer can't get through them, but essentially let them through in certain places. Like, we're still letting the water go down the river, we're just kind of guiding it into a certain spot in the river. You want to do that with these piles of brush as well. So this will thicken up over the years if you do this, so then you'll have to go back to the previous point of just get in there and clean out this low brush and create that bending, winding trail through there. You want to reopen these every year before hunting season, clear those shooting lanes and so on. But if you do this, if you create these pinch points on your property, guys, this is exactly where those deer are going to go. You're going to get them on camera. You're going to get a good census of what's on your property. Remember that discount code down in the description for the trail cams. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy this one. Otherwise, go check out this one, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.